Let me go.
Rhys flailed helplessly, his face red as he gasped for air. At that moment, not only was he bewildered by the sudden twist of events, but he was also filled with dread. He thought that he was a big fish in a small pond like Swinton. Who knew that he would end up sparring against a divine-level martial artist here? A divine-level martial artist in his 20s? It was unheard of in all of South City. How could such an invincible lighter appear in Swinton? Fuck, this punk is incredible. Even our guild master was defeated by him. The disciples of the White Dragon Guild whispered among themselves in disbelief. Seeing as their leader had been defeated, some of them slipped away as fast as they could. Rhys, seems like your disciples aren't as loyal to you as you thought. Dustin smirked. Who the hell are you? Rhys gritted his teeth as his veins popped from the pressure. He didn't have the energy to struggle any further. That's not important right now. Go and send this message to Edwin. Tell him to bring his daughter and apologize to me. Otherwise, I will have a personal chat with him. With that, Dustin punched Rhys in the stomach. Rhys spat out a mouthful of blood as his internal energy dissipated instantly. How could you drain my energy? Rhys widened his eyes in fear. Why can't I? You have lost fair and square. Dustin swung around and threw him into the air carelessly. Guild Master. The remaining disciples ran up to Rhys and helped him up. Although they were indignant, they kept a safe distance from Dustin. Today, I've lost. I admit my defeat.
Boys, let's go.
Rhys wiped away the blood from his face as he and his men left with their tails between their legs. Mr. Rhys, did you thrash Rhys Milfroy? Stefan's eyes were wide with shock and amazement. I told you. He is no match for me. Dustin smiled easily. He handed a Gemafen pill to Stefan. Mr. Chapman, take this healing pill and have a good rest. You will recover from your injuries and be as good as new tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Rhys.
Stefan popped the Gemafen into his mouth without hesitation. After a few minutes, he felt a sensation of warmth spreading outward from his stomach. He could visibly feel the energy from the pill healing his wound from the inside out. His internal bleeding stopped, and soreness slowly disappeared from his limbs.
Wow, this pill is incredible.
Stefan blinked in surprise at how fast his injuries healed. Mr. Chapman, sorry for the inconvenience. You should go back and have a rest now, Dustin said with a smile.
Yes, sir.
Stefan nodded and made his way home. With Dustin's overwhelming powers, his help was obviously unnecessary. That night went by in a flash. The next morning, in a VIP room at East Swinton Hospital. Mother, bad news. Something terrible has happened. James rushed into the hospital room in a hurry, sweat pouring from his forehead. What's the matter? Why are you so out of breath early in the morning? Half asleep, Florence jumped out of her skin at James' sudden outburst. Some other relatives who were resting in the room looked displeased at his disturbance.
It's true.
James was gasping for air. I received news that the Hummers were going to boycott us, the Nicholson family. Half of the businesses in Swinton have us blacklisted and are unwilling to engage with our company.
What?
Boycott us? James, are you joking? How could this be? Florence was taken aback at the shocking news. She could not believe that was happening. Why would I joke about this? James pulled a long face. Quine Group's stock prices have been plummeting since this morning. If this continues, we will be bankrupt in 3 days. When James announced this, the room erupted into chaos. How could this happen? Why would Mr. Hummer boycott us? That's right, we have nothing against the Hummers. There's no reason for him to do this. Everyone was at a loss about this situation. Edwin Hummer was one of the mighty three. With his connections and influence, it would be as easy as PLE to destroy the Nicholson family.
James!
Tell me exactly what happened. Did we do anything to offend Mr. Hummer? Florence said anxiously as beads of sweat appeared on her forehead. It's not us, it's Dustin who offended him. I heard Dustin showed up at the Hummers' party last night and beat up Ms. Hummer. The Hummers are boycotting us for Revengel, that idiot again? Useless bastard. Why do we have to clean up his mess? Now the Nicholson family would have to pay for his deeds. Is there any justice left in the world? Florence spat in anger.
Why?
We have already cut off ties with Dustin. Why would the Hummer family go after us? This isn't fair.
That's right.
The Nicholson family has nothing to do with Dustin any longer. He should be punished for what he had done. There's no use complaining. Let's think about how to placate Mr. Hummer's anger. The ruckus started up again as everyone had something to say. However, no one had any concrete ideas about how to solve this issue. Dahlia, the backbone of the family, was still unconscious. With their status, none of them had any right to meet with Mr. Hummer. Is something the matter? At that moment, Matt walked into the hospital room. Matt, thank goodness you are here. You have to help us, the Nicholson family is in a crisis. Florence ran up to him. Matt was her last hope while the rest of them turned to Matt expectantly, nodding in agreement. Mrs. Nicholson, I will do my best to help. You have to tell me what's going on. Matt said comfortingly. It's all Dustin's fault. Here's what happened. Florence did not hold back and briefly explained everything that had occurred. I understand. Matt nodded thoughtfully. Are you asking me to meet with Edwin and beg for the Hummer's mercy?
Yes, that's right.
Aren't you acquainted with Mr. Hummer? As long as you take our side, I'm sure Mr. Hummer will relent. Florence pleaded. Mrs. Nicholson, it's not that I refuse to help. However, Ms. Hummer is still unconscious after getting beaten up so badly. If I go to Mr. Hummer at this time, I'm afraid he would turn his anger on me. Matt replied awkwardly. Matt, if you could help us through this crisis, you would be our family's savior. Aren't you interested in Dahlia? Both of you can register to be married immediately once she regains consciousness. Florence reassured him. That doesn't sound like a good idea. I don't want to take advantage of this situation. Why don't we consider this again after Dahlia regains consciousness? Maul asked. What's the big deal? Both of you are mutually interested in each other. It's just a matter of time before getting engaged. Once we survive this crisis, both of you should get married as well. Florence promised with determination. Well, I'll do my best. Matt nodded with a torn expression. However, on the inside, he was elated.